Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us on this, the 6th episode of the Pave It Forward podcast. Number 6. My name is Phil Metzger. With me today is Kevin Gray in person, and we are here to help leaders in the paving industry who are looking to run more efficiently, meet their ideal customer, and improve the lives of those around them through meaningful work. Kevin, I know you're doing great today, so how about we just get to it?
Yes, you know I'm doing great. Geez, what an amazing atmosphere and setting to be able to bring this message to the folks, man. So this is Phil's annual. As everybody knows, Phil is long time. I won't say long time, but it's starting to be a long time, partner of mine on many levels. And this is his annual mirror marketing, sales and marketing retreat in conjunction with ADC Paving, man. So really appreciate you hosting us this weekend. We've got our sales and office staff coming down tomorrow to join in. So this is going to be an awesome weekend. I can't thank you enough for bringing us along, man.
Thanks.
Warren Johnson saying what's up, by the way.
Who that?
Warren Johnson.
Warren is the man. He's the seal coat kid.
Yeah.
Fellow Kentuckian, man. What's up, Warren?
Warren, we really do appreciate you. You were one of the first people to reach out and support us when this thing first started. So we're glad you're listening, for sure.
Warren is tried and true, man. We since day one, man. Warren and I have known each other. I've met a few times in person, but through social, man, we interact quite a bit. And dude, in a part of our state that doesn't have many folks servicing that part of the state, he really does a really good job. And glad you're on here, brother.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Warren. So I just really quickly want to remind everyone that if you want to participate in asking questions for opportunities like this, if you will head over to paveitforwardinc.com, we have what is called the Paving Industry Report, and that is a once-a-year survey that we ask anybody in the paving and seal coat industries who are interested in taking it to take it voluntarily. And it's just 20 to 25 questions asking you about your year last year, the year upcoming, and then where areas that you might want some more help, some areas where there isn't enough information online or available. Go ahead and take that survey whenever you get an opportunity. And if you have any additional questions for us, head on over to Pave It Forward Inc. That's INC, paveitforwardinc.com, and send us your questions. We really appreciate it. But for today, we're going to talk about hiring for the field. And this is probably one of the most requested questions and topics that we have, and that's usually because this is a really tough industry. There is constant turnover, and you have to be able to trust the people that you put in those positions. So we're really talking about building the machine and putting the right things together with people that have the right attitude and the ethics and everything that comes along with having that right team for you. So Kevin, I'll just go straight to you. Where do the most successful hiring leads seem to come from? Have you had a particular source, a referral, or has it just been all online submissions and luck? How does that happen or progress throughout the years?
Well, nowadays it's mostly comes from referral source or word of mouth. You've got a friend of an employee or a family member or something along, the neighbor or something like that. It's word of mouth with the employees we currently have, and then with the social presence that you've obviously helped us create. I mean, it's we're becoming very well known in our industry or in our marketplace here in Louisville, Kentucky. So I mean, it's brand recognition, word of mouth referral. It's really just kind of creating its own momentum, if you will, and inertia, and just kind of attracting the right kind of folks. And that's the beauty of, and we'll get into this when we talk about, kind of that storytelling marketing that we do and the transparency. But when you can put yourself out there in a fashion on social where everybody's looking, they might not even be necessarily looking, for a job, but when you do that story brand, open, transparent kind of marketing, promotion, whatever it may be on social, the right kind of people are the ones knocking on your door saying, hey, I want to be a part of that. Or that look, even if they may not know anything about our industry or what it takes or what the long days look like, there's something that draws them to the brand, basically.
Working with your hands, hard day's work, being a part of something.
Yeah, and it's almost like that stuff doesn't even get brought up or thought about until we kind of get into the interview process, because there's such interest. Such interest that they want to be a part of this thing,
right.
which is pretty cool, man.
It's flattering, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is, but it works, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. It's taken us 2-3 years now to gain that kind of momentum. And when folks, I've talked to several guys at we had the top contractor school retreat. I feel like I'm getting a little too. There we go. That's good in the mic there. You talk to some of these guys at the retreat this past weekend. They're talking about, man, I'm so tired of hearing this. I'm so tired of hearing it. But we're gonna help fix that in this industry, not only the paving industry, but hopefully construction industries, across the board. That we can't find help. That nobody's willing to work hard. Nobody. We can't hire anybody. How do you find anybody? We can't find anybody. Hear it all the time. You let off the segment tonight saying that.
Yeah.
And it's taken work. It's taken a 1, 2, 3 year commitment of being transparent, and we're not even necessarily being intentional that we're recruiting, but it takes effort. It takes consistency. You have to show up on a frequent basis, and it's on social. Like it's on
right.
like you have to put yourself out there for people to want to become interested in you. You can't give up after you run a few hiring ads on Craigslist or any of that. You're not going to find anybody
sure.
out there. No wonder you're not having any luck. You've got to be intentional. You got to be consistent, and you got to let people know that you're out there.
Sure.
So if you're giving up after a month or two and saying, "Oh, he said if we were transparent and we start doing this on social or blah blah blah," they're giving up after it's taken a couple years to realize. Like now the floodgates are open. Like now we're really seeing the return on doing what was suggested, and that's putting ourselves out there on social
sure.
in a transparent manner. Now, I mean, people are knocking on our doors.
It's incredible the amount of the byproduct, the amount of things that have come out of just showing basically very little edited documentary style of marketing and advertising that we have done for you, and hiring was one of those things that was unintended, but
right.
But again, like there isn't particularly stats on that or anything like that. It's just putting yourself out there genuinely, and
yeah.
it helps. It's supporting evidence, if not the argument.
Correct.
So can you tell us a little bit about your hiring process for crew members? So once someone gets the application in and you think they might be a fit, can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Well, it usually starts off with myself or Cindy or one of the foremen or lead people in the field. We'll get these. We sit down. I mean, we'll talk to anybody that comes in. We'll entertain the interview, because we are always looking for good people. And when we're looking for good people, we're talking about. I wanted to write this down. I'm glad we did. We're to the point where we're not necessarily chasing people with experience. We don't have to have. Now in order to do that, you've got to have an established, at least a few crew members that are capable of training.
Sure.
But we're looking for. I don't care what your background is. If you can, 10 things require 0 talent. This is what we're looking for in people. It has nothing to do with equipment operating experience, any kind of experience necessarily at all. It's being on time, work ethic, effort, energy, body language, passion, doing extra, being prepared, being coachable. That is a huge one. Mm-hmm. And attitude. We can teach the rest. We can teach you how to do anything else, literally. So if you can, and we have this conversation right up front. Mm-hmm. And that, I think that's how we get to, we weed out people fairly quickly, because mm-hmm. We'll talk about these 10 things. We'll then talk about, we'll be very transparent on what the days look like, what the expectations are, what the expectations in quality, what the, not just these 10 things, but like what these 10 things really mean. Like what
sure.
does being coachable really mean,
yeah.
right? So we'll dive in. We'll be absolutely transparent on our expectations. And I think what separates us or any good construction company or any good company in general is having very, very high expectations and being very transparent about that. The kicker is that it's got to be a give and take. We've got to be willing as a company. If we're going to ask high expectations or ask this of you, we better be willing to give it back on our end, like whether that be financially. You know, some people aren't always necessarily motivated by money, but we've got to be willing to figure out what makes that person tick. We've got to be able to offer more money. You know, if we're going to expect more, we need to be we got to be able to pay more.
Sure.
Right. So it's definitely a give and take. We can't ask for everything and then give very little in return. It's got a balance. And I think in a good culture and in a good environment, it's almost got to be unbalanced in the employee's favor. Like we've almost got to give more. So you know we'll go through all of that, and we'll be very transparent. And you know, most of the time, people are in these interviews, they're agreeing like, "Oh yeah, I can do that." Blah. You know, they're trying to sell themselves. They're trying to land the job. They're obviously interviewing because they need a job or they want to become a part of your team, right? And my good buddy Brian Hess taught me this one, and it works. It's incredible. You go through it, and at the very end, you're looking them dead in the eye. You look them dead in the eye, and you say, how much of what you just told me is actually the truth? And you can almost you can read their facial expression so quickly to know if they're really telling the truth.
Yeah, you're not even asking me right now, and I'm nervous.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And you have to ask it in that manner. Like you've got to, and that takes some practice. Like it took me a little bit of practice to really nail how you ask and present that question to the prospective.
So how do you just read their expressions, or like what have you gotten in with that question?
You read their expression, you see it, you know, the look on their face, basically. And a lot of it's got with eye contact, with like, you know, is there a quick glance away? Is there a stutter? Is there a pause?
Yeah.
Is there a little sweat on the brow?
Yeah.
You know, do they get nervous? And you can feel that.
Yeah.
You can feel it. So that's kind of been, you know, if they get through that kind of initial, you know, with myself or with Cindy, who's our senior vice president of operations, or whether it be our field operations director of field operations, who we've just hired recently, you get through that interview process, and then we take it to the team. And that's typically what we'll do there. We'll give someone, you know, 30 days or so. Say, hey, we're gonna, you know, just because we think it's a good hire at the management level, we're not the ones out there working with this cat every day, right? So we'll almost take it to committee at that point. Again, we've talked about that in a few episodes prior, that we do all of our hiring and firing by committee. We do a lot of stuff peer to peer.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question about that, because you'd referred to it on the hiring side in a previous episode and went into it a little bit on the firing side, but this is the first I've heard about like the 30-day trial period, and I think that's interesting because one of my next questions was going to be, you know, you get a new hire in, and then they have to be welcomed by the crew. You know, they have to fit in with the crew. And not only that, they have to at least be content with their job, if not enjoy it, to perform well. But as far as fostering that new talent and getting them in the field and kind of comfortable in the field, you know, I'm kind of guessing that the culture, once that gets rolling, like people know what to expect with a new hire. But for people that are trying to, you know, establish culture, I'm sure it's hard to find even that one or two other people in your company that, you know, share that same enthusiasm about where the company's going. So how do you have any advice or history marks on, like, when you hire someone, how do you keep them content and functioning well within the crew?
Well, it's, you know, once they've, you know, made that next step of fitting in and being accepted by the crew, because I mean, we want not only the new hire, but we want our current existing employees to be happy as well. So we got to make sure it's a good fit, and you know, it's so we'll. at that point, we like I said earlier, it's not always about the financial side of what makes this person happy. We've got a system that, and it's a form that we'll have each employee fill out, and we do this every season with every employee because people change. Their personal and professional goals, they're always evolving.
Yeah.
So we've got how do I want to be coached form. How do I want to be led? What makes me tick? What doesn't make me tick? We
Sure.
want to find out as much about these people as possible that keeps them engaged, keeps them. I mean, the biggest thing is engagement and happiness and purpose. Do they come to work every morning feeling that have the feeling of that they're going to fulfill some purpose in their life?
Sure.
And not just some purpose in their life, like they're spending more time at their job. I mean, most people during their career are spending more time at work than they are with their family. I mean, unfortunately, that's the way society's got us all set up. But it's and everybody's different. Like you can't, and that takes a lot of training. Is a huge responsibility on our leaders, on our leadership team. They've got to understand how each person is different, how they're selling. You can't take two guys and coach them or lead them or manage them in the exact same fashion. No way, no how. I mean, everybody ticks differently. So we do that how I want to be coached, form and evaluation, and we keep it current. That's not a one-time thing. Like, okay, here's Johnny. These are his. How I want to be coached. What motivates me. What upsets me, whatever, and that's an ever evolving kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we keep close tabs on that. How I want to be coached for them, just so we make sure. Again, this is another thing. Give and take. We want to be reciprocating what that employee wants.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Absolutely. So. The culture also obviously has a lot to do with creating the better work days for everyone in the field and establishing all that. But I want to kind of ask you about any advice that you may have for specifically training new crew members in the field. Like, you're kind of making a personal transition from being the lead guy on the paver to backing out. So I know this is a little bit different from you because you've always been able to kind of jump in and be hands-on when it comes to showing people how to work. And of course, you have some leaders within the company that will help you doing the training. But do you have any kind of new advice for how you might handle a new crew member in the field or training them?
It's you gotta patience. I mean, patience is the key. I think that's it's probably the most critical thing. You've got to understand is whether it's the foreman that's got to be patient or depending on the size of your business, what layer of management is dealing with the training process, and then your team members also have to be patient. They have to understand what patience looks like. Like, if you guys have decided and agreed that we want to give this guy a shot and he can fit on the team, we also have to be very transparent with the other crew members. Well, now this is what that looks like. This is what the training process looks like. Don't get frustrated 3 weeks from now that Johnny still doesn't know how to rake. That's a 6-week process. We're on week 3.
Right.
Calm down.
Right.
Calm down. Give it a chance. Business owners and foremen, understand. You hope you've got enough guys on the team already that can keep the ship sailing pretty well without compromising too much profit margin. But you have to realize too that there is a cost associated with training.
Sure.
Like, it's gonna if it's a 7-man crew and you're training 2, so you got 5 well-oiled and 2 that are not quite yet. Well, until those 2 kind of get up to par, with the other 5, and we want to hit a 40% margin. Well, maybe we're going to operate at 32% for the next 6 weeks while they're training. It's okay. I mean, it's the cost of doing business. Like, if you want the right person, you want the right people. You've said, yes, this is a guy that does these 10 things. We've all agreed and established that he or she is a good fit for our business model.
Yeah. Then
you also have to understand this isn't going to happen overnight, and there's we'll talk about. I mean, I think we've talked about it every episode so far, and we will probably continue to do so. That this is a marathon. This is not a sprint.
Sure.
And there are some things that looks like.
Gotcha.
And the cost of training is one of those.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Charlie, what you got for us?
We did have a question from Warren Johnson. Do you find yourself switching them between different crews? Think seal coating versus paving versus striping, trying to find where they fit, or is everyone equally cross-trained?
That's a good question. In an ideal world, everyone is equally cross-trained. I mean, we want, especially the size business that we are, and a lot of the companies that are watching, our podcast and are associated with our groups and kind of our circle. I mean, in an ideal world, in a perfect world, and I think this is what lends cultures to be great and teams to be great and companies to be super successful and profitable, and to be able to do the things that most companies can't or won't. Everybody should be cross-trained. Everybody should be able to cover anybody at any given time. Now, that takes a long time. Like you're talking about shifting guys from kind of the maintenance side over to the heavy, production side, or vice versa. Like that's going to take. That's definitely not. That's probably a season or two kind of, training process. But that's fine. I mean, that's what we want to do. That's what you should be looking to do, because not only does that make your team, stronger, more capable, more productive, more efficient, but it also, it allows people to try different things and to be able to do different things on any given day. It also allows, we like to be able to, we give people paid vacation. Like most of these paving and construction crews, like if there's a guy missing from the field one day, like they're in a bind, or
Sure.
it's stressful, or it's sometimes, if it's like a roller operator, someone that is absolutely critical to the job getting done. I mean, they don't go to work for that day, and
Sure.
that can't happen. Like, so you got to get people cross trained. And what another piece that comes with the cross training is that we are able to, allow people to take time off, whether that be, if we want to talk about a culture that believes in family time, that says family is important. We're a family-owned and operated business, and we want you to be able to go to Johnny's, basketball game, or we want you to be able to go on your family vacation, which you never can do because it's summer. They're off school for the summer, but well, guess what? We're busy paving in the summer.
Sure.
So you can't go on family vacation. We want people cross-trained and create an atmosphere so supportive of each other that they say, go be with your family. We got your back, brother. Like,
sure.
we're gonna, and they'll do the same thing when it's their turn to go take a family vacation, or whether they need time off because of illness, or they need to go to therapy, whether that be physical therapy, or working on their mental health, or they've got a nagging injury that they've got to miss every Wednesday to get into their chiropractor or whatever.
Sure.
All those, by the way, are things, if they're validated and proven with a doctor's note or whatever, then we actually encourage people to do that, because we want people to be healthy and well and take care of themselves and be able to spend time with their families. And we actually pay people to do that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Because we know that their brothers have got their back when they go do that. So,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, it's critical. The more you can get everybody on your team, office staff included, like the more bases that people can cover for each other, it just promotes and fosters such a much healthier environment for everybody.
Yeah, and what I'm kind of getting here is that we're talking a lot about the perks and the benefits that you can offer your employees, and I keep thinking back to, okay, so what's the cause of that? And going back to the root cause, and we're going to do a complete series on it, but it's costs, making sure your margins are proper and things like that. And I want to stick to hiring, but I keep thinking here as the guy asking the questions, like, okay, well, how would the business owner want to approach that situation? Of course, they want to give them more money, but it comes down to that. So we're definitely going to be covering that as well. But Thank you very much for the question.
Yeah.
And
any other questions out there, Trevor?
That was the one from Warren that we've had.
Okay, cool.
So I just basically have one more thing before I'll tell you my thought that won't stop first. But then, I just also wanted to go. If there was someone that is just not working out, I think the 30-day trial period is great. But when it comes to having that supportive culture and making sure that everyone can step up and that they are willing to cross-train and be part of the culture and everything, when letting someone go, when someone isn't hitting those steps that you need, any of those 10 things, or not making efforts, well, of course, that it's easy to let someone go. And you told me a little bit about the firing by committee. Can you tell us a little bit about what's important to remember when letting someone go?
What's important?
Yeah, just what's important to the emotions of the crew, what's important to the person, I think firing can be hard for some people. It can be maybe a delicate art.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's man, it's I still struggle with letting people go because I mean you're dealing with people's livelihoods, man, and most of these people have a spouse or a wife, or there's kids involved. So yeah, I mean there's an art. I unless something terribly bad has happened, or it's just a blatant get the hell out of here, you no longer work here.
Yeah.
We try to end all of those relationships on somewhat of a benevolent note. We don't like to burn any bridges. We don't like to cause people any harm or damage, financially or mentally or emotionally. I mean, it's a tough one, man. God, I remember letting people go for the bulk of my career up until the last year or two. Like if I would know ahead of time that like it was coming tomorrow, like I wouldn't sleep the night before. Like
sure.
I mean, it just I was a wreck. I mean, I would be a wreck, and part of that was because I've worked on this a lot, my own personal therapy, and worked through some of this stuff. But I was morbidly afraid of conflict, and especially when you're talking about, like I said, you're talking about someone losing their job, taking
right.
you're cutting their stream of income off. So I think man, just do it with some grace, do it with some compassion. I try to even I even try to just kind of offer if they want to hear it. If a lot of the time these people just ready to get the hell out of your office.
Yeah.
They're ready to move on.
They're not already out. Yeah,
if they're not already out. But like, I don't know. I mean, it's but that's just how I roll. That's how our culture rolls. That's how our people roll. Like I generally want to see this person land on his feet.
Sure.
I mean, just because he's not a good fit, or he or she isn't a good fit for ADC Paving, doesn't mean that they're not a great fit for someone else.
Sure.
Just because it takes, we talked about earlier, I mean, it takes kind of a special kind of person to kind of step into and walk and live the expectations that we put out there. So it's just because they're not a good fit for us doesn't mean that they're not a good fit somewhere else. And I always am willing to recommend those people, somewhere else. Write them a letter of recommendation. I mean, there's I get Cindy in our office. I mean, she and I it's so good because she's kind of. I don't know. It's a good balance because she's very black and white, which is great. I'm a little more open-minded, and it's kind of good cop, bad cop.
Sure.
I mean, that's not necessarily what the relationship is, but it, she helps keep me grounded, and I think I've opened her eyes to some degree to some levels of compassion and understanding, and a lot of that's got to do with both of our upbringings, and we won't get into all the
I can feel her staring at you right now.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for her to show up tomorrow. She'll be like, "What the hell were you talking about, Kevin? Like, what's this? Yeah, you just want to tell the world my laundry here."
No, he's just saying he's the bad cop, Cindy.
Yeah, right, exactly. But he, like my point of that is like she'll get annoyed sometimes because I'll even though people that get fired, we're legally, technically, not obligated to pay their unemployment. And I have a hard time doing that. So like sometimes like again, depending on why we're parting ways. Like if it's something bad, like you're not gonna get your unemployment money from me because you've cost me this amount. Like you've already taken that money from me anyway, or something like that. But I'll even pay people's unemployment that technically I don't necessarily have to, just because I feel like it's the right thing to do, man. It's just anything I can do on the back end of a firing. If I feel it's warranted, justified, I'll do anything I can to help that person land on their feet and make the blow and the impact of that is less, at least hurtful as possible.
I hear you. But, yeah, that's tough, but you definitely seem to handle it with some grace, and that's definitely. Yeah, there's nothing fun about it. That's why I just thought I'd throw that one in here, and hopefully we don't have too many episodes on firing or anything like that. But
but that's it's a good one. It's a loaded.
That is one that might take a few more opinions. Get a round table.
We could do it. Yeah, we could have a panel with that one. I mean, you talk. We'll get Cindy in the room on that one.
There you go.
There
you go.
If we can get her on camera.
That's true. She tends to duck.
Charlie, maybe you can sweeten her up tomorrow. Just convince her that this isn't so bad or something, man. We need to. She would be amazing to get in here and talk.
We'll work on it.
She's a special one for sure.
Yeah. Hey, Cindy, we love you.
We love you, Cindy.
All right, but let's get on to the thought that won't stop.
Just wanted to let us know that he took notes.
Mike is taking notes.
Who's that? Mike Reeves. Well, that's good, Mike.
Can't wait to see you, Mike. Coming up tomorrow.
Yep.
But I want to go ahead and get on to the thought that won't stop. And this is just a thought that's been consistently in our heads about business or anything related. And I'm going to go ahead here. And, I often think about business qualities of the business owner and the qualities they possess. And I'm not exactly talking about financially for this thought, but for the first 5 or 10 years as a business owner, you're putting in just about more time than everyone else. And if you want to improve, you have to improve the structure and quality of time, whatever that means to the individual. But some business owners just never even get the chance to get off the ground. And it can be such a lonely thing. I remember the first couple years when I really didn't know anything about it. I had taken a class, and so I knew basically to go find the resource center, the small business administration, in whatever town I was in, and kind of started from there. So I just think about that type of thing often. Not only how we can reach them, how we can possibly help them out, but again, just what makes them tick and offer support. So I think as we go through this business and find people, that other like-minded people, I just want to remind people to ask us your questions. It can be a lonely place, so that's just the recurring thought that won't stop. Besides, right now, just enjoying some of this beautiful area we're around right now. But Kevin, you got anything on your mind that's been on your mind lately? Pretty heavy.
Oh, things are heavy on my mind all the time, man.
Sure.
It's
business ownership.
Yeah, but it's I love it though. That's what makes me tick, man. That's what gets me out of bed. Having pride in what we do and on a grand scale, man. It's couldn't be more blessed. You get the sleepless nights and all, the hard stuff that comes with it, but the rewards that come with it, being able to literally, legitimately change people's lives, have an opportunity to do that, is pretty incredible. And I think I'm going to go there with my thought that won't stop, because that just hit me pretty good there. It's something I've been thinking about here now that the season has kind of calmed down a little bit and I've been able to catch my breath, is my thought that will not stop. And it's been heavy on my mind for a few weeks now, and I think as long as I think I need to keep telling myself, because if I don't, it's not going to happen. Like now that I've caught my breath, the season's kind of ended. We're still out there working, but my roles are changing. We're bringing new people in. We've got massive amount of training to do. And it kind of sunk in a little bit this past weekend at the TCS Inner Circle retreat. Was I've got to take care of myself. My thought that won't stop, and not only take care of myself, but continue to better myself, to continue to soak in and suck in as much information and knowledge and whatever I can bring of value to me personally, so that I'm able to give back to all of those, not just our employees, but to my wife, to my kids, to my friends, you guys here, to our employees. If I'm not doing those things, and I'm a leader, if I, somebody that, that people look up to and depend on, count on, if I'm not pouring into myself, then there's no way in hell that I'm going to be able to pour back to anybody else out there. And my friends reminded me of that this weekend at the Inner Circle retreat. Really take the time to pour into yourself so you can give back to those. Glenn Lundy says it, and I love it. I freaking love it. And when I say this, it gets me pumped up and it keeps me focused. And so it's who loses if you don't win? Who loses if you don't win?
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. A lot of folks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, you're in that position as the business owner to be able to affect lives in a very different, direct way.
Yeah.
But, making sure your face mask is on first, all that good stuff before you can help other people. That's important. And
amen.
I'm glad that you've got to that point now, man. It's you've had your head in the right place. But I know every business owner does it. When they get too busy, it just all of a sudden time just flies by, and people are asking them things that they didn't have the time to think about,
right.
and it just piles up.
Right.
So yeah, thanks for sharing, man. Yeah. Charlie, we got anything else over there?
We're all good, guys. That's it for us.
Sweet.
All right. Well, I just want to tell everyone that if they want to join in on that paving industry report, we would really appreciate anyone that would submit, because there's quite a few questions there that'll get your mind thinking. You'll be able to kind of see where you are with other paving and seal coating companies around the world or in the United States. So if you'll go over to paveitforwardinc.com, that's paveitforwardinc.com, you will see the paving industry report along with some other information about us. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to our podcast or on YouTube. It's Pave It Forward. You can reach us on Instagram as well @_Pave It Forward, and we're also on Facebook and LinkedIn. So, Kevin, anything else today, my man?
I'm good, brother. I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening, watching. This has been the Pave It Forward podcast, where we aim to help leaders in the paving industry who are looking to run more efficiently, meet their ideal customer, and improve the lives around them. Improve the lives of those around them through meaningful work. Thanks for listening. Good night, everybody.